Hello students, in this video we are going to see humerus bone. Humerus is a bone of arm. This is the photograph showing the bones of upper limb, and this is humerus. Humerus articulates with scapula superiorly and forms shoulder joint. So this is scapula and this is shoulder joint. And inferiorly humerus articulates with radius and ulna to form elbow joint. This is radius, this is ulna, and this is elbow joint. Now the features of humerus, like other long bones, it is having upper end, lower end and shaft. This is upper end, this is lower end, and this one is shaft. So we'll see one by one. Firstly, the upper end. This is the enlarged view of upper end, anterior aspect. Upper end is having head. The rounded structure of the upper end is head, this one. Then neck. Humerus is having three necks. They are anatomical neck, surgical neck and morphological neck. So anatomical neck, this dotted line shows the anatomical neck, which separates the rounded head from the rest of the upper end. This is surgical neck, which separates the upper end from the shaft, and this is morphological neck, which passes through greater and lesser tubercle, and it is present in between anatomical neck and surgical neck. Anteriorly there is a bony elevation known as lesser tubercle. So this is lesser tubercle. Same on lateral side, there is another elevation known as greater tubercle. So this is greater tubercle, and in between this tubercle, lesser and greater, there is a groove known as intertubercular sulcus. So this is intertubercular sulcus, and intertubercular sulcus is also called as bicipital groove. Now greater tubercle has three impressions. This is the anterior and posterior view of upper end. Three impressions are upper, middle and lower. Upper impression is present on NC anterior view. So this black dot is upper impression. On posterior side, red dot is middle impression, and this green one is lower impression. And these three impression for insertion of three different muscles. Now intertubercular sulcus. This is anterior view. It is having lateral lip, medial lip and floor. So this is medial lip, this is lateral lip, and in between these two, this is floor. Now the shaft, anterior and posterior view of the humerus. In upper half, it is rounded in shape. If we take a cut section of upper half, it is rounded, and if we take a cut section of lower half, it is triangular in shape, like this. It is having three borders: anterior border, lateral border and medial border. Anterior border, this one passes through the lateral lip of bicipital groove and runs downwards. Now the lateral border, this is lateral border on anterior aspect, and this is lateral border on posterior aspect. So it passes through the posterior aspect of greater tubercle, then it runs downwards toward the lateral side and continue as a lateral supracondylar ridge. In the middle of this humerus, it is interrupted by radial groove. This is medial border which passes through the medial lip of intertubercular sulcus and continues downward as middle supracondylar ridge, and the middle of this medial border there is a rough impression for insertion of coracobrachialis. Now these surfaces, it is having three surfaces: anterolateral surface, anteromedial surface and posterior surface. We can understand by this diagram the upper one is anterior side and lower one is posterior side. So this one is anterolateral surface present between anterior and lateral border. This is anteromedial surface present between anterior border and medial border, and this is posterior surface between medial and lateral borders. On lateral surface, anterolateral surface, in the middle of humerus there is V-shaped impression. This one, this blue impression is deltoid impression or deltoid tuberosity, because the deltoid muscle is attached over here, that's why the name given. And then just posterior to this deltoid tuberosity there is a groove on posterior surface. This is this one. This is radial groove or spiral groove, because here the radial nerve is present. Now the lower end, anterior view and posterior view. Lower end of humerus is also called as condyle. It is flattened anteroposteriorly and expanded side to side, and it is divided into two parts: articular part and non-articular part. So this is articular part which takes part in formation of elbow joint, and rest of the area of lower end is non-articular. In articular part there are two important structures, that is capitulum and trochlea. The lateral spherical structure, ball-like structure is capitulum, which articulates with head of radius, and medial pulley-shaped structure is trochlea, which articulates with trochlear notch of ulna. Now carrying angle, this is the lower end of humerus. So there is a important phenomena here. The lower end of capitulum is present slightly above than the lower end of trochlea, and the difference is about 6 mm. Because of this difference, the arm is slightly deviated laterally like this, and because of this, long axis of arm makes an angle with the long axis of forearm, and this angle is known as carrying angle, and it is more in case of female to accommodate larger pelvis. Now the non-articular part having medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle, medial supracondylar ridge, lateral supracondylar ridge, coronoid fossa, radial fossa and olecranon fossa. So first is medial epicondyle. The medial most prominent point of lower end is medial epicondyle. Same on lateral side. Lateral most prominent point of lower end is lateral epicondyle, this one, and above the medial epicondyle there is a vertical ridge known as medial supracondylar ridge, this one. Same on lateral side, vertical ridge above the lateral epicondyle is lateral supracondylar ridge. Above the capitulum there is above the trochlea there is a depression known as coronoid fossa, this one, and above the capitulum there is another fossa known as radial fossa. this one, and posteriorly above the uh, this trochlea there is deep depression. This is known as olecranon fossa. This is the diagram showing anterior and posterior view of elbow joint, showing the lower end of humerus and upper part of radius and ulna. So this is radial fossa, which accommodates this head of radius during flexion of the elbow. This is coronary fossa, which accommodates the coronary process of ulna during flexion of elbow. So this is coronary process, and this is olecranon process of ulna, and this olecranon fossa accommodates olecranon process of ulna during full extension of the elbow. Now the anatomical position and side determination. The upper end or head is rounded and is directed upwards, backwards and medially. So this is upper end. Lesser tubercle faces anteriorly. So this is lesser tubercle. Lower end expanded side to side and flattened before backwards. So this is lower end. And olecranon fossa faces posteriorly. This one. So on the basis of this fact, this is of anterior and posterior side, posterior aspect. So we can hold the humerus in an anatomical position by these facts, and we can determine the side. So this is humerus of right side. Now the attachments on humerus. Firstly, the muscular attachments. This is the anterior and posterior view of humerus. So on lesser tubercle there is attachment of or insertion of subscapularis muscle. Now coming to the greater tubercle, upper impression gives insertion to supraspinatus muscle, this one. Middle impression gives insertion to infraspinatus muscle, this one. Lower impression gives insertion to teres minor, this one. Now coming to intertubercular sulcus, medial lip gives insertion to teres major, this one. Lateral lip gives insertion to pectoralis major muscle, this one. And floor gives insertion to latissimus dorsi, this one. On medial border there is insertion of coracobrachialis, this one. Now on deltoid tuberosity there is insertion of deltoid muscle, this one. Then lower half of anterolateral and anteromedial surface gives origin to brachialis muscle, this one. Then upper 2/3 of lateral supracondylar ridge gives origin to brachioradialis, this one. And lower 1/3 of lateral supracondylar ridge gives origin to extensor carpi radialis longus muscle, this one. And lower part of medial supracondylar ridge gives origin to pointer teres muscle. So this is pointer teres muscle. Medial epicondyle is a origin for common flexor muscles, and lateral epicondyle is origin for common extensor muscles. Now coming to the posterior aspect. On the posterior aspect there is oblique ridge which gives origin to lateral head of triceps. So this is the origin of lateral head of triceps. Below there is origin of insertion of deltoid, and below this origin of brachialis, and rest of the area of posterior surface behind the or below the radial groove gives origin to medial head of triceps. So this is medial head of triceps origin of, and this is the origin of brachioradialis. Then this is origin of extensor carpi radialis longus, and posterior surface of lateral epicondyle gives origin to enconius. So this is the origin of enconius. So this is all about the muscular attachments. Now the capsular attachment. So superiorly humerus articulates with scapula and forms shoulder joint, and inferiorly articulates with radius and ulna to form elbow joint. So there are two capsule, one for shoulder joint and another for elbow joint. So superiorly the capsule is attached around the um, head of the humerus like this, anterior aspect and posterior aspect. The point to be noted here is the capsule extends 1 centimeter below the head on medial side. So this is the capsule of shoulder joint. Now capsule of elbow joint, which encircle the articular part plus coronoid and radial fossa anteriorly, and posteriorly it covers the olecranon fossa, this one. So this is capsule of elbow joint. Now the ligaments. First is coracohumeral ligament. So this is the diagram showing the coracohumeral ligament. Green structure is coracohumeral ligament, which is attached to humerus near the greater tubercle. Now the transverse humeral ligament. Between the two tubercle there is a ligament attached. This one is transverse humeral ligament, which covers the tendon of long head of biceps. This is the tendon of long head of biceps. So in this figure you can see the transverse humeral ligament. Now the ossification of humerus. It is ossified from one primary center and 7 secondary center. One primary center for sept. This one appears at the age of 8th week of intrauterine life, and 3 secondary center for upper end and 4 secondary center for lower end. So one for head, one for lesser tubercle, one for greater tubercle, then one for medial part of trochlea, one for capitulum and lateral part of trochlea, one for lateral epicondyle and one for medial epicondyle. So for head it appears at the age of 1 year. For lesser tubercle appears at the age of 5 year. For greater tubercle appears at the age of 2nd year, and all of 3 fuses with the sept at the age of 6 year. This secondary center for capitulum and lateral part of trochlea appears at the age of 1 year, and for medial part of trochlea appears at the age of 9 year, and for lateral epicondyle appears at the age of 12 year. They all 3 fuses with the sept or become one epiphysis at the age of 14 year, and the secondary center for medial epicondyle appears at the age of 4 to 6 year and fuses with the sept at the age of 20 year. So this is all about ossification. Now the applied aspect. Firstly, the nerves related to humerus. So there are 3 nerves related to humerus. This is the posterior aspect of humerus. Near surgical neck, the axillary nerve is present. This one. Near this radial groove, radial nerve is present, and behind the medial epicondyle, this one is ulnar nerve. So 3 nerves related to humerus: axillary nerve, radial nerve, and ulnar nerve. Now the fractures. So 3 common fractures of humerus. First at the level of surgical neck, then at the level of radial groove, and lastly just above the condyle, that is supracondylar fracture. So this is at the level of surgical neck, at the level of radial groove, and the supracondylar fracture. So supracondylar fracture, this is the diagram showing supracondylar fracture of different grades, and the features include injury to medial nerve, since medial nerve is present anterior to the humerus. Then Waxman ischemic contracture, This is the diagram showing Waxman ischemic contracture, in which there is a permanent contracture of the forearm muscles due to the lack of blood supply. Then myositis ossificans, it means ossification of muscle. This is the diagram showing myositis ossificans. Now dislocation of head of humerus. This is the normal shoulder joint, and this is the diagram showing the dislocation of head of humerus. Since the capsule of shoulder joint is weak inferiorly, that's why the inferior dislocation of head of humerus is common. Now there is a poor blood supply at the junction between upper 1/3 and lower 2/3. So this is the diagram showing the blood supply of humerus by brachial artery. So at the junction between this one, upper 1/3 and lower 2/3, if there is a fracture over here, then it will lead to non-union or delayed union of the bones. So this is all about humerus. Thank you.